Welcome to RoadTripStory.com. I'm Joseph Kaler. The man behind the camera is James Romeo. We're here today in Nashville, Tennessee, actually a little bit south of it off Granny White Pike Road. And what we're here today is talk about what's behind me, which is a very interesting landmark in Nashville. I just wanted to share with you guys, not just so much for what it commemorates, but just really the monument itself. And what this is the Battle of Nashville Monument to commemorate the really horrible battle that was here on December 15th and 16th of 1864. Now, if you may remember, we did an earlier episode regarding the Battle of Franklin, Tennessee, and this is the same army of Hood's, the Confederate Army. He basically went up through Franklin and technically gained ground, won the battle, if you will, albeit at a very, very horrible cost, very heavy casualties. And he basically limped what was left of his army here to Nashville and camped out for several weeks. And Thomas subsequently won the battle. The Battle of Nashville Monument not only tells the story of the Battle of Nashville that happened at this location on December 15th and 16th, 1864, but it also really has an interesting story of its own. And so let's talk about it here a little bit more in detail. The monument itself was built in 1927, and it was actually sculpted. The sculpture pieces here were designed by Italian sculptor Giuseppe Moretti. And what the theme of this is, the monument itself with the obelisk, with the figures on there, is actually commemorating unity. This isn't a Confederate, this isn't a pro-union, this is just a we're together as one, e pluribus unum, type of monument. And that's one thing I like about it, but another thing that I really like the most of it, again, is the history of it, because this monument was not here originally at this public park. This monument was built in 1999. The original 1927 monument is still about 2 blocks away, and it was destroyed almost down to its base in 1974 by a super outbreak tornado, basically gutted it. So you got to imagine the wind that it took to take something like this down, and that's essentially what happened. So what they did in 1999 is actually officially rededicated the monument, and they did a really good job putting it really in a nice public park for really people like us, me and you, to enjoy. This would be a really nice public area to really see and commemorate a very horrible chapter in American history. And then you see something like this, just these random acts of vandalism here on the monument. And I saw a couple of these, and the thing is that this is a newer monument. This was built in 1999, and you're seeing things like these remarks, and then again, this is not the only one here, mind you. You're just seeing a little bit, and really more so over these skateboarding tracks here. And it just kind of gets me mad where I'm traveling, out of my way to go to these monuments. And it's not just here. I've seen this in a lot of other areas, Florida, anywhere out west, just anywhere where, even in my own home where I'm from in Atlanta, and you see these random acts of vandalism where it's cool, it's cute or whatever, but you're not really understanding what you're defacing. This, in instance, is not really a wall. And I'm not being a moral judge or trying to be psychiatrist or social commentary here, but at least with me, though, you're vandalizing something that commemorates a very horrible battle. Thousands of people died here. And I think what's really funny is the kids that are vandalizing this, or whoever they might be. I mean, I don't care who they are, ethnicity, creed, whatever they are. But they're vandalizing something that probably even their own ancestors died on this battlefield in this area or vicinity of Nashville. So it just kind of makes me a little bit pissed off, I guess you could say, when I see things like this and then see these marks here. And there's a no skateboarding sign here, but it looks perfect for a skateboarding park. Maybe the designers of the park could have done something a little bit better than that. Just opinion, but again, though, these kids know when they're coming in that this Battle of Nashville, you want to skateboard on? Not cool, man. It's just not cool. So it's just something that you see a lot, and maybe there could be a solution to this, maybe in more, maybe monitoring or making this maybe more a public area in terms of just acknowledgement or neighborhood watches. But just kind of a little remark I just wanted to let you know of. It's just, again, not cool. When this monument was established in 1927, the group that made this possible really had the foresight and really, I think, good taste in really constructing something that commemorated a really horrible battle in American history. And in 1927, when Giuseppe Moretti made this monument, he took some really aesthetic kind of tips and tricks, you could say, from really the old masters. One I particularly see when I look at this statue before even really looking at Moretti's work is thinking of Bernini, that kind of mannerism, classical, very flowing figures. You really didn't see it in the Renaissance, but in the mannerism with Bernini style, you see that, as well as and Moretti sculpture here commemorating the Battle of Nashville. And what this commemorates, you see the central figure here, this is really youth, and what he's doing with the two steeds that are flanking him side by side there are actually the Union and the Confederacy, kind of bringing them to a halt and making kind of a, just a peace through progress, peace through youth. And that's actually stating that above the sash here that says unity. I'm not sure if you can see that in the video itself here. But I think it's just a really good fitting tribute to the men that really fought here and that died and just gave the sacrifice, both sides. And again, this is not the pro-Union, anti-Confederate, or vice versa monument. This monument is really dedicated to really just peace itself. And we've seen this a lot in other places we've gone to. And you'll see that a lot coming up in a lot of reoccurring themes. But it's very hard to really get that and seeing this kind of classical twist to it as well, that you really see that Moretti sculpted here at the Battle of Nashville Monument. So very highly recommended if you're ever here in the Nashville area. It's a very beautiful landmark, even if you're just even into art history or just want to see a really nice sculpture in a very nice part of town. Highly recommend it. Before we leave the monument here in Nashville, I just kind of want to give you a closing note of really about the Battle of Nashville itself. We talked about the monument, now the battle itself. Now you got to remember that the Confederacy was really still struggling for its existence by December of 1864. It was on its last legs, but it still had legs. And what was left of it, at least with Hood's Army of the Tennessee, actually when he got to the Battle of Nashville here, his troops were really almost but depleted. He almost lost roughly about a third of his men through casualties, missing, wounded, etc. through the Battle of Franklin, which we've done on an earlier episode of Road Trip Story, so you can check it out on our website. But really what ended up Hood encountered here was that he really lost the race with Schofield. Schofield ended up joining up with General George Thomas, his Union superior, and pretty much just ending up just really hammering away at any of the defenses of the earthworks that the Confederacy tried to really entrench themselves on the outskirts of Nashville. And Hood's army was basically just shattered beyond repair. And it actually lived out the rest of its days of the war, actually fighting in western parts of North Carolina during Sherman's Carolinas campaign. But Hood's really reputation as a career officer was really just all but annihilated here. He resigned his command once he retreated, got what was left of his army back in Tupelo back in January of 1865 with, again, what little army he had. And what's kind of funny, interesting to note is that there's a nice song that goes along with that is, you may talk over your Beauregard and about your Robert E. Lee, but the gallant Hood of Texas wrecked hell in Tennessee. So again, not just for Civil War history and really just American history, but this monument stands to me as something that would otherwise could be lost. And yes, I guess that is history, but why I'm saying that is because you can see behind you an apartment complex. This was a battlefield, but you really can't see that anymore. And hopefully with places like this, the Battle of Nashville, places like Franklin, where they're trying to get some land, trying to commemorate that, people are not going to forget this really important part of American history. So for roadtripstory.com, you can find this episode and just see any other really stories that we have, historic sites, places that really deal with Tennessee, or really just any other area that historical or great places you want to see. Be sure to check out our website. And for roadtripstory.com, this has been Joseph Kaler, and James Romeo's behind the camera. We'll see you down the road.